Underwater photos never look good in Ark Survival Ascended due to the game's water and lighting effects, but in this video I'll show you 2 ways that I've found to take crystal clear screenshots underwater every time. Let's get cracking. Alright Tinkers, I'm Toastbloke and I'm back in Ark Survival Ascended to share with you 2 ways that I've found of taking crystal clear photos underwater every single time. Now I do have 2 methods, like I say. One is using the brand new shastasaurus and submarine saddle that just came into the game, and the other is using the underwater bubbles that are on the center map, and this used to work in ASE. I just tested it in ASA and it works too. So we'll show you both of these. You might even want to use them in tandem to get really nice screenshots underwater. Now I'm going to pop on some scuba here because I want to show you what I mean by this. When you are inside of the submarine saddle, you'll notice it's like being on land. There are no underwater lighting effects, there is no blur, there is no blue tint. But as soon as I head out of this door, the effects kick in. It's like the game goes, camera, you're not in there anymore. Add all the water effects, and they're a nuisance. They are really, really overpowering. Everything looks dark and dim due to how the lighting is affected by the water. Everything looks blurry and a bit of a mess. And if I just go into photo mode here, it's a bit of a strange position we've gone to photo mode on. You'll see no matter how close I get, no matter where I move or what I do with camera settings, this just looks bad. It doesn't look good. And as a content creator, somebody who needs good underwater photos for screenshots, this just will not do. It would be great if they would add something into the game that would fix this, but it doesn't look like they're going to. In fact, they deactivated certain commands for the console that would get rid of these blur effects, making it impossible to do without a little bit of trickery. And that's where the shastasaurus and the submarine saddle comes in. So let's get back into our flak. What you want to do is you want to trick the camera into thinking it is inside of this submarine even when it isn't, because if you look outside, even everything outside of the water looks a lot clearer than it does when you're on the outside of the submarine. So the submarine clearly does not have the camera recognize underwater effects. And the first way I found of doing this was accidental, right? All you do is you go to ride your Shasta. As you can see, everything is blurry in the water still, but if I go into first person, because I'm in the cockpit, everything then becomes really clear. There's the underwater bubble that I'm talking about, but more on that later. So we can see clear as day here. Now, there's a bit of an issue because the camera can't get out of the cockpit unless you are in first person and driving. If you do that and you click toggle photo, the camera will actually spawn outside of the submarine, but still think it is inside, which is crazy. Look at the difference there. This is clear as day. It looks great. And it gives you the option to take some really nice underwater screenshots. Of course, you've got all your usual camera settings. If you want to add in some blur, some depth of field, if you want to change the lighting, that one's actually really handy, just in case you've got your creature on the wrong angle or it's the wrong time of day. You can move that around and just really improve your screenshots, get the look that you want, just by being the driver and going into camera on a Shasta submarine saddle. So that's really nice. If you don't want all of this blue effect, all of the fog that's underwater, you still can use the fog console command. So I'll show you that. We just open up the console. We've got one here, which is cheat space r.fog space 0. That will remove the fog. And again, you get a completely different shot. Everything is clear. Everything is perfect. And I use this to take the foreground image shot. So I would have my fog on, take a general shot. I would then go to 0 fog, take that and cut the creature out. You can do that in post or by using the background setting which comes in the in-game camera, where you just bring up your green screen and you move that to where you need it to be to cut out your creature. I'm at the surface of the water here, so it's not fully cutting the creature out, but you get the idea. You know exactly what I mean if you know how to do those things, okay? So that is how you get things looking really clear underwater using the submarine saddle. There is another way you can do it with the saddle, but I feel like it leaves a little bit of fog behind, but I will show you. Like I say, if you stand in the submarine and you go into photo mode, you cannot leave through the walls, you can't leave through the door. And I was like, this is a bit annoying. It'd be so cool if you could just go outside. And then I realized, oh, you can't go through the door because the door isn't open. So if you just back up make sure the door opens, and then go through the door, you get a very similar effect. Although I do feel like this looks, it might just be me imagining things, but it seems a little bit more misty, a little bit more cloudy. No, it definitely does, doesn't it? That's nowhere near as clear as it was before. And I think I know the reason. I think I know why this happens. Because the submarine has lights up front on the cockpit, I feel like you actually get a clearer image when you look out the front than if you look out the side. And I feel like those lights clear up the image a lot, or at least tell the camera to, so when you were doing it from the cockpit, you get a better shot. But you can use both, you can utilize them however you need to get really nice underwater photos and screenshots for your thumbnails, or just to share with your friends, or maybe just to capture an epic moment that you'd like to remember. This is the way you do it. Now, before we move on, there is one last thing I just want to mention, a quick little tip. Your camera by default in GIMP is set to 3000 in regards to the distance it can travel. I've actually got mine set a lot higher than that, so I can get further away from the shastasaurus and get a picture of something that isn't so nearby. Obviously, you can move your Shasta closer, but if you want, change that distance, and when you go into first person and you leave the cockpit, you are then able to travel quite a way away and go and get photos of something that you want to. So let's just head over to a fish here just quickly. Just gonna go, and I can go really, really far and get quite far. So you need to change that setting if you want to get further away from anything to get the shots that you want. But again, cockpit is definitely clearer than going out the back door of the submarine. And yeah, you can get all of the images you want underwater using this method. So that is method one. Two different ways of doing it, and a quick little tip there. Obviously, you can't do that on official servers, but if you are in single player or you are running on a unofficial server, maybe get that camera size increased, or get the people running the server to increase it. But that is it basically for the first method. Let's show you the second one. Don't mind me just standing on my Shasta while a random little fish does a headstand on it. I don't know what's going on there, but I am here for a particular reason. I want to show you where both of the underwater bubbles are on the center, because these two bubbles are your ticket to a crystal clear underwater photo. Now, the first one is here between Skull Island. If you have a look for that on the map, it's a pretty noticeable landmark, and this rock here, and you just go underwater facing north. You'll see the bubble down there. I'm going to swim down. I'll let you know the codes once we arrive, and then we will start showing you this next method. You can do it in both underwater bubbles, although some parts of the bubble are better than others. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. I've swam down into the underwater bubble next to Skull Island, and this is actually about 65.58 on the map. If I just pop this open, you'll be able to see there 65.59 I'm currently stood at, but it's in that region. I've already showed you how to find it. You shouldn't really have any problems, and you'll notice again, although we're underwater, everything is visually fine. And this works in ARK Survival Evolved as well as ARK Survival Ascended, like I said. But this was my way of getting pictures of underwater creatures when I needed them for thumbnails. Now, the trick is, there's a little point between where the bubble stops and the water starts, where if you get the camera in it, you actually get a clear underwater shot. So if I step back, all the effects are there, they're gone for a moment, and then as I move into the water, they come back. So you can obviously take photos while you're in first person if you want and crop everything out, but I wouldn't recommend that, especially since we have the camera. And what if you want a picture of your character? You can't really take one using the shastasaurus method, so I'm going to show you how I do it, and usually cut them out and then add them to my other underwater photos later. So we are stood at the edge of this bubble. Everything looks clear, everything looks great. You would just need to spawn in or kite a creature over to get a shot of it. But for your character, what I'm going to do is I am going to put my scuba back on, like so I can breathe when we go out into the water. That's how we do that. I'm going to get into third person, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm swimming, okay? Now, I don't have to be next to the bubble necessarily, because when we go into camera mode, all that matters is that the camera is in the bubble. So I'm going to move backwards from my character towards the bubble while in camera mode, and there we have it. Bang. We've got the clear shot of our character. We can take whatever shot we need for our screenshots, for our thumbnails. And if you know how to edit your photos, like I say in Photoshop or Affinity Photo, then you can easily stitch a few layers together and get something looking good, looking authentic. But again, I've also said you can just bring creatures and things over. You might want to be sat on a creature when you do this to get a nice underwater image of your scene. And obviously the subject. Now as well, the cool thing is we can use all of our normal camera settings. So let's bring up the focal plane there. We are going to just run that back towards our character's eye, or as close as we can. Let's get it intersecting the character, and then we can bring up the depth of field like so until we get the kind of shot we want. If we want, we can use background to cut our character out with a green screen. A lot easier. Just pull that forward, and there we go. We've got a cutout of our character swimming underwater. There's all sorts that you can do. You just got to get creative. You got to do what works for you. So I'm not going to go into that too much more, but that's essentially the method that I would use, or was using until the Shasta one. I'll probably use that more now to get a clear shot underwater. Now, something I need to point out, if you haven't already noticed, is that while I'm using this method, there is zero fog. Fog's actually turned on. I'll show you the command just to make sure. Fog 1. Nothing happens. The bubble eliminates the underwater fog effect as well, which means you're going to get a very clear, very crisp picture, but you lose that nice blue glow of the water if you want to use it. I mainly use this for cutting things out to put onto a background, which I've taken somewhere else. So that is the way that you would use that. But the cool news is we've now got the Shasta method, which allows us to leave the blue ambience of the water in, which is really nice. But again, using these in tandem is super helpful. So that is one demonstration there. Let's pop up to the bubble in the north so I can show you that and give you an idea of how that one would work. I'm just out here floating in the water to show you the location of the second underwater bubble on the center. And this was the one where I discovered this trick on, so I was really quite happy about it. We were doing some filming down here for the Monarchy, and I noticed that I could see clearly when we were trying to fight an alpha Tusoteuthus, and I was like, oh, great, maybe I can put this to use. And I could. So, this little island here, it is the island just north of the blue obelisk island, and I'm to the east of it out in the water. If you look at the east side of this, pretty much straight on, and just dip underwater, you'll be able to find the other bubble. It's right below us there. So again, I'm going to swim down, and I'm going to show you how to do another shot. We might get a creature involved. We'll see how it goes. I've made it down here safe and sound, and I'm ready to show you another example of what you can do to get photos, maybe riding a tame underwater. And I want to start off by telling you where I am. And if you have a little look here, I'm currently at 2783. That's not the center of the bubble, but I think using that information and what I've just shown you above the surface, you should be able to find this no problems. Now, I do have an ichthyosaurus outside of the bubble, and you'll notice it's quite far away. This seems to be a new feature on this game. In the old game, things could swim right up to the bubble, and in fact, I had things attack me through the bubble and cause me damage. It looks like they've added a bit of a barrier to it currently that you cannot swim around. So you will have to bear that in mind when you're doing this, that there will be some distance between your subject and the camera. We'll just park this up and hop off and just show you that this still works over here. I'm underwater without scuba and I'm getting so excited. Let's maybe sort that out. If I just move back over to the bubble, make sure I'm low so I don't fall to my death, and I just move through, you'll see when the camera gets beyond the bubble and between the water, we get our nice shot there, nice clear shot. Where's it gone? I've been noticing I'm getting this strange lighting effect at some points and not at others on this bubble, which is weird because this bubble used to be the best one in the old game. In fact, standing over there in that corner used to be really good, and it's not happening. Let's try maybe here, see if this fixes the issue. Yeah, there's good, there's good. We can get a good shot there. So if you just get the camera in, obviously your camera's in a different position in first and third person, so make sure you're getting that right. But again, we get a nice clear shot when we hit the right point. There is some weird lighting going on here, but we'll better work with that, I'm sure. So you can still get that. Just make sure you're at a good point of the bubble. You might have to experiment a little bit. Now then, I'm going to jump on here. Like I say, there's a barrier, but it doesn't matter because my camera can move through it. My character can too, so that can get close. We just make our way over to wherever the bubble is, going in the complete wrong direction, and just get it between the bubble and the water, which will give us a really nice clear shot. I then have to adjust my camera to get this right, so let's remove the depth of field. As you can see, things are looking good there. And let's get a different focal length so we can get right up and close, even though we're far away, to the subject. And there you have it. There's me riding on an ichthyosaurus, clear as day. Again, you want to be adjusting your lighting and things like that to make sure you get the perfect shot, get the composition you want. But yeah, that is just another way of getting the perfect screenshot, getting rid of the blur, the dim lighting, the blue tint. It really does allow you to take proper nice screenshots and really good thumbnails, which is going to be super important for me, not just for this kind of video, but for when I'm doing my playthrough on the Center Ascended. Make sure you check that out. But just to recap, you've got the shastasaurus saddle one, which is probably going to be my favorite. And then this one, where you can use the bubbles from the center underwater. And you can use these in tandem. You can cut things out in post, put them together, and just get the image that you want. Make sure that it is perfect for you. But that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to share with you, which is why I'm going to call that there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. It really does help my channel and also help me on my journey as a content creator. So I'm very grateful for any support. If you want to get to know us more, get involved with the community, check out the links in the description below. You'll find the Discord there amongst all of my other socials. But until next time, you guys take care, and we'll catch you later. Cheerio.